Well, it's about damn time.
Finally!
After several weeks of shenanigans and nonsense and bullshittery, since the ouster of one Kevin McCarthy, a Speaker of the House has finally been chosen.
It's true.
Representative Mike Johnson out of Louisiana.
Yes! Yes!
Well, we're going to see if he has the balls to do what Kevin McCarthy couldn't or wouldn't do.
Do it! Do it!
I'm Jasper Gonzo, and this is What's Next. Good day, everyone. Jasper Gonzo, What's Next? Your daily dose. Hope you guys are feeling good today on this Thursday. Well, I was going to do a video in regards to ESPN's racism documentary, Skin in the Game. Of course, it would have been part 4, but unfortunately, a situation of breaking news broke out in Maine regarding an active shooter, so that took precedent. And of course, we finally have a speaker in the House, and of course, in my opinion, that takes more precedent. Yes, a Speaker of the House has finally been chosen after several weeks of bullshittery, and what a lot of people thought that one of the most conservative representatives in office, Jim Jordan, would have gotten the job. But unfortunately, no, because of 20 so-called, dissenters, i.e. rhinos. Let's make that very clear. So Jim Jordan got cast aside, as several others did. They fell to the wayside as well. But one finally got the nod. Representative Mike Johnson out of Louisiana. What do we know about him? Can he do the job? Can he pull the trigger? Does he have the balls to do what Kevin McCarthy couldn't or wouldn't do? And here we go. This comes out of Breitbart. Representative Mike Johnson, elected Speaker of the House with unanimous GOP swamp support. Couldn't get Jim Jordan, but you got this guy. All right. Representative Mike Johnson, Louisiana, a fourth-term conservative who is currently vice chairman of the House in GOP conference, has the speaker gavel within reach and seems to be on the brink of ascending to the presidential line in secession on Wednesday afternoon. Well, of course, it's updated. He is the new speaker. When the White House gavels in at noon, it's certainly possible that Johnson, a formerly conservative talk show radio host and columnist who's been active in the religious liberty world of the American right, emerged as the 56th Speaker of the House of Representatives. This is hours before. Johnson on Tuesday evening became the House Representative Speaker designate after a much balloted vote that called immediately for the majority House Whip. Tom Emmer's candidacy fizzled slightly more than 4 hours after he won the same position. But something interesting happened for Johnson after he won the internal election following several rounds of voting. On a roll call vote in conference behind closed doors, not a single member voted against him. What? And only a handful voted present. One of the present votes in conference was Representative Tom Massie. Now he says he will back Johnson on the floor on Wednesday, but there were close to 20 dissenters, many of whom are expected to back Johnson on the floor. Of course, at that time, it was uncertain. For Johnson win speakership, assuming all members of both parties are present for a vote of person, he would need 217, of course. There are 221 voting Republicans, which means Johnson would only afford to lose 4 members. Since there are 2 of 12 Democrats, Republicans have any present vote, Johnson would need to put up at least 213, and depending on the vote math, not having anyone vote against him, or very few. It's been a wild ride for the House Republicans since former Speaker of the House Kevin McCarthy was ousted from his position more than 3 weeks ago. The immediate aftermath of McCarthy's ouster, House Republicans first elevated Johnson's fellow Louisiana House Majority Leader Steve Scalise as Speaker designate. Scalise's candidate failed and it cratered and never even went to the floor. After Scalise, Republicans turned to House Judiciary Committee Chairman Representative Jim Jordan. You would think one of the most conservative members in office, who tried 3 separate floor votes in the week, which he was Speaker designate, but after a total of 25, it's like every vote that passed, more and more were against him, blocked him from getting the gavel. After that, House GOP turned to Emmer, who, like Scalise, never went to the floor, but unlike Scalise, Jordan held an in-conference roll call vote anyway from prying public eyes. The opposition for Emmer was deeper than it was for Jordan. 26 said no. The opposition to Emmer was deeper. number that exploded in growth after former President Donald Trump, yes, of course, you knew Donald Trump had to weigh in, stabbed him with a dagger of a post on Truth Social, knifing any shot Emmer had of getting the job. The damage was done, and Emmer dropped out. Of course, that's him there. After that, it seemed hopeless for the House Republicans to, for some even floating, to get a kind of McCarthy comeback with Jordan as assistant speaker. But as those discussions were turned into whispers into a possibility, Johnson quickly amassed mass support from all corners of the House GOP conference and posted an impressive roll call vote that saw 0 GOP detractors. So you had 26 who told Emmer to go f himself. You had 22 who told Jordan to go f himself. But this guy got everyone on board. It's a little sus, but I'm going to let that go for now. But the latest efforts on the House floor will commence shortly afternoon. Of course, it's possibly it could get more than one ballot if allies with Jordan, Scalise, McCarthy, and Emmer aim to protest on the first ballot, which of course they did not. Jordan takes the gavel. I'm sorry, if Johnson takes the gavel, which of course he has, he would face a number of immediately and pressing crises on the floor. First and foremost, government funding runs dry against 3 weeks from Friday, November 17th, and Johnson would have a ticking clock from the second he takes over. Secondly, Democratic Joe Dementia has pushed an emergency aid package for Ukraine. Of course he has, with a little bit going to Israel. How generous. Nice. Tying the two together. And how Speaker Johnson would handle that would be a major first test. Well, here's the first test. You tell Ukraine to go itself, no more money. There you go. And move on. Thirdly, before his ouster, McCarthy formally launched an impeachment inquiry into Dementia, and how Speaker Johnson handles that will be a major test as well. Fourthly, and more broadly, House Republicans are angry, tired, weary, and worn down from this eternal strife. Johnson, who is not known as a prolific fundraiser, will need to figure out a way to marshal resources to begin a public political operation to protect and possibly expand the House GOP's slim majority as Republicans face a host of challenges nationwide, from redistricting, court challenges to strong Democratic candidates to recruits issues for the GOP. How Johnson moves to unite this band of deeply divided Republicans will be a story worth tracking. From what I know of Mike Johnson is that he's a conservative. He's got a very high Liberty Score rating, which of course keeps tracks of all conservatives. Those like Jim Jordan, Chip Roy. He is pro-life, and he is very strong in his convictions. So those are all pluses. Now, what was just mentioned? Ukraine, Israel, fundraising for himself. Money's about to run out in a few weeks. Clock's ticking. All these things are going to be dumped in his lap as of now. How's he going to handle it? And also, will he have the balls to do what Kevin McCarthy wouldn't do? I remember in a prior video, just before McCarthy was elected speaker, that one of the first things that he had to do, first acts he had to perform, was to cut Ukraine off, cut the money off, turn the faucet off, plug up the holes in the dike, do whatever you need to do, but do not give any more money to Ukraine. And what do we see? What did we see? We saw not one, but 2 bills that Joe Dementia pushed forward to up the ante on Ukraine. And they both passed. Even with dissenters like Jim Jordan and Chip Roy and Thomas Massie, Joe Dementia got what he asked for. More money for the proxy war in Ukraine. Now he's got a bill that has more money to go to Ukraine, but Israel, we're going to throw you a couple shekels, just to make sure that, we got your back. Johnson basically needs to tell Biden to go himself regarding Ukraine. You're done. Finished. Kaput. Through. Now, if we want to give more money to Israel in regards to it, even though we roughly have given, give or take $25, $30 billion to Ukraine, over the last, give or take, a decade. Now remember, folks, you had $150 billion plus given to Ukraine in a year and a half. That's more money than Israel received over the last 2 decades. But then again, who's counting? So we're going to see where this goes. We're going to see how good Mike Johnson can be. And main thing is how many people he can draw to his side in regards to these difficult matters that are on his plate. So stay tuned, kids. And with that, I'm Jazz Berganzo. This is What's Next. Want to see more like this? Please leave a comment below. Like it, share, subscribe to it. Hit that notification bell so you guys never miss a thing. And we'll see you next time. Peace.